You're listening to Autumn on the Air, the weekly podcast that brings you conversations about the impact of research commercialization and the people who make it happen. Join us for interviews with patent and licensing professionals, innovators, entrepreneurs, and tech transfer leaders on the issues and trends that matter most. Keep listening for an inside track on the people, IP policies, and politics changing our world.
Welcome to Autumn on the Air. Today, we're diving into the blue economy with a fascinating conversation about ocean innovation and entrepreneurship. Our guest today is Tamara Zissman, Director of Founder Success at Seaworthy Collective, a Miami-based nonprofit accelerator supporting BlueTech startups. That's innovation for ocean impact. Tamara brings a unique perspective to this work, combining deep technical expertise with a passion for enabling entrepreneurs to create solutions for our ocean and climate changes. Before transitioning into ocean innovation support, Tamara spent over a decade working at sea with state-of-the-art geophysical sensors in some of the most challenging environments on Earth, from the Arctic's frigid waters to tropical biodiversity hotspots in the South China Sea off Borneo. Her international travels opened her eyes to critical challenges facing humanity, from ocean pollution to water scarcity, inspiring her career to pivot into sustainability and ecological resilience. Tamara holds a Bachelor of Science in Geological Sciences from the University of Texas at Austin and a Master of Advanced Studies in Climate Science and Policy from the prestigious Scripps Institute of Oceanography. At Seaworthy Collective, she creates and leads programs that utilize human-centered design to empower sea change makers to scale BlueTech startups and ocean data technologies, bridging the gap between scientific innovation and profitable planet-positive businesses. And there's exciting news. Applications are currently open for Seaworthy's next Ocean Enterprise Studio and Incubator cohort, launching in February 2026, with a deadline of January 28th, 2026. We'll discuss that opportunity later in our conversation. Tamara, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm really delighted to be here.
Well, we're really excited to have you on the podcast. And I thought the best way to kick the podcast off today is to start with the basics, especially for our listeners who might be new to this space. Can you talk a little bit about what BlueTech means and why ocean innovation is so critical right now for addressing global challenges?
Sure, that's a great idea. I'll tell you that in this space, we kind of have two terms that people are getting used to, and I'll just briefly break them down. First, there's the blue economy, which always makes me smile because, it used to refer to all the business and money-related things to do with the ocean and coasts and waterways, like fisheries or transport, trade, energy, tourism. But now there's this new blue economy, which is so much more about a sustainable ocean economy. And it's still the economic activities associated with the ocean and coastal regions, but with this element of stewardship and sustainability. Or at Seaworthy, we aim for regenerative use, actually. And then there's BlueTech, which is more the advanced technology side of the ocean or maritime industry. So it's the high-tech innovations like robotics or renewable energy, AI, observation and sensors, advanced materials even. The things designed to help us understand and protect and utilize the ocean more effectively. So I like to tell people, if you've heard of green tech, try shifting to blue tech. And it's so important because the ocean is basically our most major climate lever, the ultimate climate regulator. It's already absorbed roughly 90% of the excess heat and something like 25% of the carbon dioxide emissions that humans have produced. So if we didn't have the ocean, we'd be toast already. And there's this huge need to decarbonize activities to do with the ocean. And there's a big gap in data, what we know about the ocean. I've been hearing since I was a kid that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do our own ocean. So I won't date myself, but basically that hasn't changed that much. not enough.
Definitely not. And I think there's statistics that only a small percentage of the ocean floor has actually been explored. And so we don't know what other potential is available down there since we don't know what exists down there.
Exactly.
So I want to talk about Seaworthy for a little bit here, because I know that it was started in 2020 and it supported 100 founders across 50 BlueTech startups that have collectively raised over 34 million. And that's really quite impressive growth in just a few years, slightly, over 6. So what was the founding vision behind Seaworthy and how has the organization evolved to meet the needs of ocean entrepreneurs?
Yeah, what a great question. The founder, Daniel, like me, has kind of a technical background. He worked in marine robotics, and he always says how he had this realization that he was degreed and he had all this experience, and he still couldn't really get into the entrepreneurial space and have impact the way he wanted to. So he started thinking, how could someone with all of my qualifications not be able to access this space? And we really need a seriously broad set of expertise in the ocean space. So he wanted to create this access and the ability to do something for anyone who wanted to. So our vision remains to bring all hands on deck for BlueTech, where everyone can contribute to the solutions for our blue planet. And really, we started in 2020 with Daniel running a cohort of startups all on his own. And we've evolved. I came on for cohort 2, and we really reiterated on our programs until we've kind of hit our stride now. And we're helping really see success from our participants.
Now, I think one of the things that I found particularly interesting and makes Seaworthy stand out with respect to this model is your emphasis on human-centered design and supporting founders as people, not just their technologies. In the research commercialization world, as you well know, we focus heavily on IP and business metrics. So talk to us about this philosophy and why it matters for startup success.
Oh, thank you. I love that question. I think in tech, often the solution or the IP gets made into the hero of the story. But the truth is, people invest in people. So you have to have a good solution, but you also have to have a founder that's agile and has foresight and original thinking a lot of the time to navigate the challenge of getting the solution adopted. We see a lot of people who are kind of in love with their technology, but when they go to try and launch it, they try to force it into a market where it maybe doesn't fit. And it's not the thing that's most needed that people are willing to pay for. So by putting the founder first, we try and enable them to build a business that's both personally fulfilling, but also ruthlessly aligned with the market needs. So we listen to what the founder needs, and then try and provide them with our collective experience and insights and any resources we can to help them shape their technology into the solution that someone is willing to pay for. So we're not focused on just accelerating the technology, but we're trying to empower the human beings behind them and ensure that there's a better business outcome from that people first approach.
Now, I know that Seaworthy is a co-lead in something called the Continuum, which is a $14 million partnership with NOAA's Ocean Enterprise Initiative that coordinates a network of ocean enterprise accelerators. And that's really pretty cool when you think about NOAA being involved in that. So this sounds like a really significant evolution from the traditional incubator model. How does this collaborative network approach enhance what individual programs can offer to startups?
Oh, I could say so much. We are so excited about this Continuum partnership and NOAA's recognition of how innovative it is unto itself. We get a lot of shared knowledge and experience from our partners. We have this approach of redirection instead of rejection for any startup that is looking for help. So I'll say like 2 members of our last cohort 6, actually came from our partners at Braid Theory that, these startups had applied to their program, and Braid Theory saw they weren't far enough along to be helped by the program resources that they had. So they redirected them to our program. And after our 12 weeks with them, they were ready to go on to a commercialization prep course with Braid Theory. So we have quite a few examples of redirecting to the appropriate place. There's a startup called Neural X that went through our partners at Braid Theory. They're located in LA on the West Coast. And from there, they went on to apply to our partners at Ocean Exchange, and they won that competition, which includes non-dilutive funding. So got quite a few examples of the continuum of support that we're trying to provide. I think that the partnership also sort of offers this 7x of the network and the resources and the knowledge. So what we don't know, we can lean on our partners. Maybe they have better port connections or whatever the startups need. So the startup is benefiting from so much more.
It really seems like that there's a tremendous amount being offered to the startups through the continuum for sure. And as you know, many of our listeners work in university tech transfer offices to help researchers commercialize their discoveries. What advice would you give to tech transfer professionals working with ocean-related technologies, or even to researchers who are interested in the blue economy? What do you think they need to know about supporting these types of innovators?
Well, I think one thing I can say is we have in common with Autumn that there's this understanding that the collaboration efforts really, they lead to more wins and sort of a snowball effect. Our Continuum grant is definitely an example of that. Success begetting success. The important thing is the connections and really moving from sort of transactional to transformational support. So not just protecting IP, but maybe helping navigate the human side of the startup world, or the team building is really an important piece. Or do they have a mentor that's really been through deploying hardware or whatever they're working with? So I think looking at beyond just the solution and the tech and building outside of a vacuum, connect with, in the blue space, I would say, connecting with the whole ocean enterprise and programs like ours and others in the industry.
Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned. You've talked about the 6th cohort a couple times, and I know that applications are now open for your 7th cohort. What makes this particular iteration special, and what are you looking for in applicants, both in existing startup as well as aspiring founders?
Thank you for asking that. Yeah, our applications are open till January 28th. And we, with this NOAA funding, we are focused on US-based startups in the ocean data space. So kind of has to have a data play or an opportunity to put a data play on your roadmap. We've been doing this. This will be our 7th cohort. So like I mentioned, we've really iterated and honed our process. We're looking for startups that we can sit down with and assess all their needs and make sure it aligns with what we have to offer. That's something really important to us. So filling in an application is just the first step. And then if we see some potential, we'll reach out for an interview. And it's something you want to commit to. We need people committed to a 3-month program. It's once a week, one-on-one meetings. And there's also a weekly group meeting because we really believe in the community support that comes with all this. We want to get to know you and your whole self as a founder. on the aspiring side, we're not expecting anybody to come with a fully formed idea. It's sort of really open, just a real passion and entrepreneurial spirit, meaning that you are willing to commit the time and able to and dive deep with us on if you have something you really want to achieve or you see a problem, like assessing that problem and validating that there's a place to offer a solution and a solution you can come up with.
So I want to touch on that a little bit more and delve into that further, because your program's unique and you've mentioned it. You support current founders with early stage startups, as well as aspiring founders who are then co-creating new startups with Seaworthy. So that's a really interesting approach. What have you learned about balancing these different needs within one cohort? And what have you learned about co-creating startups versus accelerating existing ones?
It's a great question. We have learned so much. I think, to the best of my knowledge, there's no one doing this kind of thing in the ocean space. We're really trying to curate our cohort. That's the first step. And we try and look for opportunities that the founders, just from the little we know about them from the outset, like they're going to be able to help each other. They're going to offer each other some sort of support or knowledge without even sort of trying. And it turns out that a lot of times the aspiring founders are able to sort of leapfrog and go even faster because they learn so much. They're starting right at the beginning and they have the benefit of our input and advice and experience. So we can guide them in just even getting started, which is something a lot of existing startups don't have the luck to stumble upon early. So the aspiring founders so far have really caught up in just a few weeks. As long as we can narrow in on what they are interested in building, they catch up to the existing startups to some degree. And then in the group calls, they always seem to be able to help each other. I mean, aspiring founders are coming in with knowledge of their own, so they are offering lots of resources to the others as well, and just fresh perspectives. Lots of wonderful community support in what we've seen.
And I think one of the other really remarkable things about your program is that it's completely free. There's no equity, no fees, and that's all thanks to the NOAA funding. Basically, founders just need to commit to the program requirements. So how does this no-cost model change who can participate in the diversity of founders that you've been able to support?
Yeah, that is a beautiful part of it. And we've certainly, as a team, worked our tails off to make sure we can offer that and keep offering it. Like I said, from the start, we wanted to create access for all. And that funding makes it so much less of a stress. Like the founders we're not offering equity either. So they're not looking to get something financial from us, and we're not looking to take. So it opens up a real genuine connection and relationship building and community building as well. Plus, again, we're looking hard for the people that really need us and what we have to offer.
So while I know fundraising is one metric of success, and like I mentioned earlier, you've had great success there, like $34 million, which is pretty incredible. You've also mentioned that success can take many different forms at Seaworthy, from market validation to building pitch decks to securing pilot opportunities or even gaining visibility. From a research commercialization perspective, then, how do you help your founders identify what success looks like for their particular venture at a specific stage?
Yeah, I don't want to pour out all our secret sauce, but we do start the whole process just sitting down and listening to the founders and really co-creating a plan for our time together. We map it out, and we want the founders fully bought in on the process and, believing that this is what we can accomplish in our time together, and hopefully sending them off with the plan beyond that. I'll add that most often fundraising in the 12 weeks with us is not the win. It's more like strategy or better leadership or better market understanding. I am proud to say that I know we're getting pretty good at this because if you are measuring by funding, 100% of cohort 5 founders went on to raise money, mostly non-dilutive, within 6 months of completing our program. And cohort 6 only ended in October. So we'll see. And we, like you mentioned, we've got a pretty good success rate over the 50 startups total.
Yeah, you have a really great success rate. And on top of that, your program also offers SBIR, STTR grant application support with dedicated partners and graduates who might be eligible for technology development commercialization awards, which range anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000. Talk to us a little bit more. You've mentioned a couple times about this importance of the non-dilutive funding for early stage ocean tech companies and how Seaworthy helps these founders navigate these opportunities.
Right. Yeah. We really encourage early stage to look at this non-dilutive side of things. There's this sort of valley of death that we consider earlier, I think, than a lot of people do, especially in the blue economy space. And to get over that first valley, you do need funding a lot of the time, and you maybe aren't investor ready, or you don't want to maybe give away all your company before you've even gotten anything fully started. So we're trying to help the founders find, engage and find the funding that can help them get through that, and then strategize what they'll do with the funding to be most effective, and also de-risk them for later, maybe potentially investment if that's what they need. Depends a lot of the time on the commercialization pathway.
Now, I know this upcoming 7th cohort will exclusively support US-based startups that are developing ocean data technologies and services aligned with the NOAA Ocean Enterprise Initiative priorities. Why is ocean data right now such a critical area, and what types of solutions are you most excited to see emerge?
Oh man, the world is our oyster. I
Literally in BlueTech, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of puns.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah,
it's our Daniel Kleinman is our pun master. He's our founder, and I should probably warn any founders that want to work with us about that. Most excited, I think there's just a lot of potential for ocean observation and what you can do with it. Like you said early on, we don't know what's going on at the bottom of the ocean or what there might be to help humanity. So a lot of exploratory things to be found there. And I know AI is really a buzz right now. So there's definitely some AI investigation going on for us. We're learning a lot along with our founders, making sure that it's real and helpful and impactful in the space. And also, for me personally, I really like advanced materials and some of the cool things we can do from the ocean. And you need to be able to sort of track that, like what impact is it really having on the ocean? So that's where the data comes into play, monitoring and measuring.
Yeah, absolutely. The possibilities are endless, from harvesting kelp to finding new organisms down by thermal vents. And like you said, materials that might be down in like the Mariana Trench and other places that we haven't been able to explore. Really the ocean's the limit. I'm not going to say the sky's the limit, but the ocean's the limit there.
Lisa, you make me smile so big because I think there's like a medical side of things as well.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Things that used to once scared us may offer us cancer solving technology in the end. Or, there is so much to learn and there's a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. Sharks, for example, don't get cancer. I mean, look at the biomedical benefits of horseshoe crabs over time, which have been around since the dinosaurs. There's a lot of really great technologies that the possibilities are incredible if we can just, discover them and figure out their applications, which is pretty phenomenal.
I think on the coastal resilience side as well, like we only more recently realized just what an impact coral reefs have to protecting from from storms and such. People are finally kind of beginning to notice that, and how we build up coastal resilience, again, requires data and understanding. So
there's a lot of really great work going on with renewable sources to create new coral reefs in areas where the reefs have died off due to increasing ocean temperatures and things like that. So, which can have applications just like when NASA sends things up into space. For space applications, a lot of times they have really great applications down here on Earth. I think it's the same thing is true for the ocean.
Absolutely. I think one thing I didn't mention earlier was how much our partnership is also helping us open the door for transferring technologies that exist in other industries to the ocean. So there's a lot of potential there too.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier. You mentioned mentors, and Seaworthy connects founders to a pretty large network of over 250 mentors and collaborators, plus investors with over $2 billion in combined assets. For university researchers or early stage innovators who might right now feel very isolated in their labs, how can they start building these kinds of ecosystem connections even before they're ready for an accelerator program?
Oh, what a wonderful thought. I actually attended a research institution for my master's program, and I definitely saw that. A lot of times you're so head down, you're developing your amazing research and technology that it's hard to get involved outside of that. So one thing Seaworthy offers, we have a two-pronged approach to everything we're doing. I've been talking a lot about our startup programs, but we also have a community program where we encourage anyone who wants to get involved to attend. We have a lot of in-person events, often free, in the Miami area in South Florida. Our partners have those as well. We have virtual events that happen. In fact, generally, one of the events we have, each cohort will have a panel with our startups talking. And for cohort 6, we actually tried a virtual one for the first time in a while. So hoping to repeat that. Really just getting on there and chatting. We have the Seaworthy newsletter too. I usually don't plug this, but I feel like that would be very applicable for anybody who wants to kind of know what's going on. We have so many partners that are really putting out there all the different opportunities. And that goes for universities too. So I hope we can help connect you.
Tamara, I want to ask you a little bit about your own career journey because it truly is fascinating. You've gone from being a geophysicist working on research vessels to climate scientist to now enabling ocean entrepreneurs. And that's quite an arc. Tell us what lessons from your decade at sea inform you how you support founders today. And really, what drew you specifically to entrepreneurship support side rather than staying in research or policy?
I appreciate you asking that, Lisa. I feel like when I realized around about 2016, I knew I had to do a career pivot. I was sort of staring out the window and saw this chip bucket floating by me in the middle of nowhere in the Atlantic. And I was inspired to go and study about climate and see what's really going on. I was a data girl, so I wanted to see the data for myself and understand. And I'm fortunate enough to have found that there is so much going on in the climate space and there's so much business potential. And I guess I believe that's how we're going to change things, is for better or worse. The money makes the world go round. And if we can sort of do the right thing and make money, then people are more inclined to do it. So I started working in the San Diego Ocean Tech cluster and had such a good time with the entrepreneurs that I worked with. There were companies of all stages, but the early stage was my favorite because they were just so innovative and optimistic and resourceful. And I think that's what I learned in my time offshore as well. My favorite people were these outside of the box thinkers really resourceful. When you're out at sea in these complicated environments and you got to solve problems kind of real time, it's very similar to being a founder. You have to be able to pivot and problem solve. And sometimes there's not an instruction manual. So you have to be a real innovative thinker. And it's not for the faint of heart.
Would definitely agree with you there. And for someone who grew up on the water, on boats, yeah, definitely you have to be creative, fast thinking, and innovative anytime you're out on the water because you never know what you're going to face for sure. So what would you say are some of the biggest challenges you see BlueTech startups facing that might be unique to ocean innovation when you compare it to other sectors? Are there specific regulatory hurdles, for example, market access issues, or technology validation challenges that you think our tech transfer colleagues should be aware of?
It definitely feels like the BlueTech space is extra challenging from where I'm sitting. That's true in the regulatory space. A lot of times you're dealing with municipalities or government entities that they can be slow to change or resistant to change. And that is a slog sometimes when you're trying to make some major change. You sort of have to go for the incremental and be very strategic about it. There's also the validating side. Looking for a pilot sometimes can be complicated. If you pilot here in one area and then want to go implement your solution in another, a lot of times they want you to prove it's going to work in their area as well. So once again, you got to kind of plan ahead. And yeah, I think it's sort of important to get the lay of the land, if you will, before you get started. And I think that's an advantage that startups who work with a program can take advantage of, really getting the ecosystem awareness that they need.
So would you be able to share some success stories from a previous cohort? You don't have to name names if you don't want to, but you can if you do want to. And I'm particularly interested in some success stories that illustrate the kind of transformation or impact that Seaworthy enables. What made that founder or startup's journey particularly meaningful?
Sure. I think we have quite a few. Like we talked about earlier, success looks different for everybody. So one of our founders from this past cohort has Bonnie Schneider. She was formerly a TV weather anchor and worked with the likes of CNN, and she has really worked hard. She is constantly engaging and building community and taking chances. She's sort of a risk-taking, great communicator. And I think she benefited a lot from both our community and our strategy efforts, and from attending partners' events. We got her a booth at Ignite 22, which is an event that Braid Theory, our partners in LA, have. So I know she made some great connections there and was able to build on some pilot programs that she was trying to put into place. There's also this element of the community being very supportive. One of my favorite things about working with these founders is they're very passionate about doing good. And we have this community that people also want to help them do well and do good for the world. So it's like a safe place to sort of practice your pitching. There's other success stories that involve connecting with the right industry partners and then going after the right policy changes. So we do have a past startup at Seaworthy that's managed to help implement actual policy change in Florida. And that has both helped her business and the coastlines. So lots of different, I think that I like to think we helped empower them to both know to do that and get it done.
So Tamara, for some of our listeners who might be interested in applying or maybe know somebody who should, can you walk us through what the application process looks like and what happens between now and when the program launches in February 2026?
Sure. Get your applications in. It's a pretty simple application. Shouldn't take you too long. And I always get pro tip, whatever you're sort of filling in for our application, you should keep it a document. You might use it again for others. And we're really trying to get to know you as a founder and what you'd like to achieve and make sure we can help you get there. We'll then contact you for an interview, and going to be a pretty quick turnaround because we'd like to get started on February 13th. I think we're aiming for that. I'll also mention that if anybody who wants to apply, if you get an application in or at least start it, I will happily send you an invite to a session we have on January 21st at noon Eastern. We partnered with a law firm named Morrison and Forrester, and they are going to give out some pro tips of, common mistakes that startups make right from the beginning. So really want to encourage startups or anybody interested in applying to start an application. And if you'd like to reach out, I'm happy to discuss. I'll see you at that session and maybe even have an open office hours. That's what I've been thinking about today. Make sure anybody who has any questions has access to us.
So just to be clear, so everyone knows, the applications for the Continuum Ocean Enterprise Studio and Incubator are open until January 28th, 2026, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. That's Eastern Time. So tell us, Tamara, who should apply and where can they find more information?
Sure. That's an easy one. So if you go to our website, seaworthycollective.com/sea-change, SEA change, you can find out more and it'll take you straight to our application. So if you're wondering the difference between existing and aspiring still, feel free to reach out. I hope I covered that, but or check out our socials because we're always posting things on there to help people decipher. If you haven't even incorporated yet, you might look into aspiring, and we'll help you get there.
And Tamara, as the podcast comes to a close and you look toward the future of ocean innovation in the blue economy, what gives you the most hope? And what do you wish more people in the research commercialization community understood about the opportunities in this space, meaning the ocean and not outer space?
There is just so much opportunity. I think that's what gives me a lot of hope. What makes me feel good is that I can see that people across the board, from like investors and politicians and innovators, they're all starting to realize that about the BlueTech space. I had my own podcast briefly, and I used to get so many messages on LinkedIn. How do I get involved in the ocean economy and BlueTech? I feel like in some ways there's this sort of boom right now. Or, it was just my own bubble, but I think there's an understanding that's starting to spread. And there's so much to learn and so much to do. So we get to be the people to do it. And if you're a researcher and you think you have an idea, I'd love to connect with you and see if I can help turn that idea or that research into a real solution. Superman isn't coming, they say, and our oceans are our lifeline. So the time is here and the mission is clear. Let's do something impactful.
Well, Tamara, thank you so much for spending time with us today, for sharing all that Seaworthy has done, and congratulations on the upcoming cohort. It sounds really exciting and looking forward to seeing what comes out of it.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm excited, and I hope your listeners will get out of the lab and join us.
Tamara, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing the incredible work happening at Seaworthy. It's inspiring to hear how you're empowering entrepreneurs to create solutions for 71% of our planet, our ocean, to help regenerate 100% of the planet. As mentioned, applications are open now for Seaworthy Collective's Ocean Enterprise Studio and Incubator, powered by the Continuum. This 3-month program launches in February 2026 and is offered on full scholarships. No equity, no fees, thanks to Seaworthy's $14 million NOAA partnership. Whether you're a tech transfer professional working with ocean-related research, a researcher with a blue economy innovation, or an entrepreneur passionate about ocean impact, this is an opportunity to tap into a world-class support system, connect with NOAA and the Continuum's extensive network, and access up to $50,000 in potential non-dilutive technology development commercialization awards. Remember, Seaworthy has already supported 100 founders across 50 startups who have raised over $34 million since graduating. The next wave of ocean innovation starts with founders like you. To learn more about Autumn and the research commercialization community, visit autumn.net. Until next time, this is Autumn on the Air, bringing you the stories of people making research commercialization happen. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Autumn on the Air with Lisa Mueller. Get social with us and share your thoughts. You can tweet us at AUTM or visit us online at autm.net. We'll be back next week on the air. Be sure to join us.